everyone. Welcome to No Ma'am, the podcast where we talk shit and throw a little bit of shade at everything and everyone. We'll have you saying no ma'am in no time. I'm your host, Willy Will, and this is my co-host,
Jhoany. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of No Ma'am.
Jhoany. We're on episode 5. Mm-hmm. I feel like it was just yesterday when we decided to film episode 1.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels kind of weird to be here. At least like this far in. And I just feel completely different than when we did the first episode and I was like having a panic attack halfway through.
Oh my gosh, I know. That first episode was so scary.
It was. It really was.
Because it was the first time we have conversations like this all the time. But it's the first thing that you have to realize that the camera's there, you have a microphone in your face, and we're doing all this, and it's like, why are we doing all this?
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
And now it just feels like we're just talking.
Literally having conversations, which is shit, right? I mean, that's the whole point of a podcast. So today's episode, it really is about creating space, right, for queer people of color. I think this is a really amazing topic, and when you brought it up to me, I was like, wow, we really need to talk about it. Yeah. Because obviously for No Ma'am, we'll go into why we created the podcast, but I think it's all about creating space, especially in a time where our society is so divided. Yes. Right? People need to understand that they have safe spaces to go to for them to realize that there may be people who look like them and we're all in this together. But before we even get into that topic, right, let's just do a quick Global Allstars recap. Let's rapid fire through them because we just to catch up because, we've missed a couple of episodes. So we're going to recap episodes 8 through 10.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So episode 8 was the roast. And to me, this probably was my least favorite roast thus far.
This roast was a No Ma'am.
It was bad.
I'm sorry. It was bad. I think this was the worst roast we've seen so far.
No, I think what was that? Candy season. I didn't like that roast. I thought that was a bad roast. With Gottmik and Simone.
That was also
and Utica.
That was also bad.
Utica was bombing. I thought that was really bad.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it was so bad that it just kind of became good just based off what the
because it was so bad,
saying.
It was good.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you can say that the same thing for this, right? A little bit, but I also think it's because, well, again, right, we are judging Global Allstars to American standards of drag. True. And so the international queens really just didn't understand the assignment.
True.
A lot of them haven't done a roast before, right? Pythia is not a comedy queen. So for her, she was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't make sense in her brain, which I get it because she's very methodical in the things. And then obviously you had the other queens just didn't get it. So I think the international queens just didn't understand the roast.
Yeah, I agree.
Vanity considers herself in the beginning of the show to be the lip sync assassin of the season. So that is why we really thought about we need to do an episode of Lip Sync Assassin.
Yeah, we just spoke about this. Obviously, go watch the previous episode if you want to know what we said.
Right.
But girl, no.
Right.
No, ma'am.
Because she did. It's a no, ma'am. Yes,
no, ma'am. You are not a lip sync assassin.
No. All right. And so the queens find out that the episode is a roast. Kitty and Queen are super excited. Alyssa is Alyssa. Alyssa's like, I'm going to be my own Alyssa Edwards self, which is funny in its own right. But Pythia, Tessa, and Nelinia have never done a roast, or they've done a roast. Pythia has done a roast in Canada, but they're freaking out and they're super nervous about it. Which, and when you watch the episode, they should be, because they bombed. Kitty gets to choose the order of the roast because she won the Snatch Game, so she chooses herself, Vanity, then Pythia, Alyssa, Nelinia, Tessa, and Queen Kong. That's the order. I think that's very smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go first, right? Queen is very strong, so you put her in to wrap it up, and then you put the weaker ones in the middle. Yeah. And you kind of put Alyssa smack down in the middle because it's Alyssa Edwards. So Vanity decides to sing. No, ma'am. That was a choice.
Girl, the fact that she decided to sing was just a bad idea.
That was a bad.
But
that was
the
a
fact
choice.
that she sang so badly made it even worse.
Key. Yeah,
it was so bad.
Yeah,
there was not a single joke in there.
No. Kitty, I thought her roast was good. I think my favorite joke was, here's Global Allstars plus Tessa. I thought that was the best joke.
I have something to say about that. These girls need to stop recycling these jokes.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the some stars. Yeah. And I'm also tired of, if you like me, my name is, but if you don't like me, my name is this.
It kind of gets a little plain. Yeah. Queen Kong, I thought the ancestor joke towards Kitty probably was the best joke of the night.
I howled. I died. That was so good.
And I saw it at Hardware. And so I just felt like everybody was looking at me like, should we laugh? And I was dying. I was laughing. I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
That is hilarious.
I swear I could feel people looking at me like, if he laughs, then we should laugh. Because it's politically correct if I laughed at the joke.
I thought it was hilarious when she was like your colonizers, you chose the person of color last.
Yes, and so even Kitty was like, "Oh my gosh," right? But I thought that was the best joke of the night. The others they weren't.
Well,
I didn't like them.
Pythia, I think she had some good ideas that were horribly executed. I think she needed to work on the execution a little bit. Tessa, to me, I literally just wrote meh. That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Alyssa was only funny because it was Alyssa. The Queen said her best. Jokes were mediocre, but the delivery is what kind of sold it.
Yeah.
And then Nelly, I thought she was funny. The bitch was shady.
She was shady. I didn't think I didn't think she was roasty enough. I didn't think she got the roast of cooking.
True, but I think she was the best out of the rest of them.
Out of the international queens, for sure.
I think she did even better than Alyssa, honestly.
Yeah, no, she did.
Yeah.
But the delivery was a little like off-putting. That's why to me, she wasn't fully confident, and that's why I would have put Alyssa over her a little bit. But I do agree with the jokes. The jokes are a little bit better than Alyssa Edwards.
Yeah, definitely.
The runway theme was "Blow Me Away." Again, this is another underwhelming runway, but I did want to say the standouts to me were Tessa and Pythia.
Yes, Pythia's outfit was beautiful with all
high
the
drag.
ribbons.
With high drag.
Yeah.
It was good. So Kitty and Queen Kong end up winning the challenge, and they split $10,000. Vanity and Pythia are the bottom two, and they lip sync to "Jove All Night" by Celine Dion, and Pythia goes home.
Agreed. I will say this though, I thought Vanity really owned the stage at that moment.
She did. I just wish she wore that outfit for the "Blow Me Away" runway.
I don't think that was a runway outfit.
It wasn't. I think she just put the ruffles on that biker jacket. But to me, that made more sense.
Yeah, because, girl, what she wore, it looked like the fucking Grinch had thrown up on her.
Yes. All right. So, episode 9 is the makeover challenge. This one, pretty self-explanatory, but before I get into that, there is something I do want to get, because this is the episode we get of the bullying, right? And I'm going to put this in quotations, because we have this idea of bullying. To me, I think, one, I condone any form of bullying. I don't like it. I don't like when people gang up on other people. I think that's not okay. But to me, I honestly just do not think that Queen Kong was bullying Linnea. I really don't.
No, I agree.
I just think the fans need to stop perpetuating that narrative. Right? I don't think so. Do I agree with Queen's delivery of saying the critique to Linnea? No. I think it was very harsh. But Queen is from down under, so a cultural thing, they're very blunt. And she said that when she was doing the role. She said, listen, this is where we are. We cut people. We don't mean it, but this is what it is. But also, where I have a problem is, I have a problem with the edit of, queens of color always coming off as aggressors.
Yeah, and
then the non-queens of color is the victim, right? And it just bothers me because it happens literally over and over again. Yeah. And then the fans perpetuate the narrative. And then you saw that Queen had to apologize, right? And put a statement out because they're tarnishing, just her personality. And then you see the next episode, she even apologized. She said, I shouldn't have done it. I apologize. It came off a little too harsh. Here's your moment, right? That's what you should have.
Yeah. I'm also just kind of tired of the fans being like, oh, we want the drama. We want good TV, whatever, and then when they get dramatic moments, when they get girls kind of fighting and being shady to each other, they're very quick to start attacking them.
Yeah.
You can't have both.
No.
And this was nothing compared to how mean the queens used to be in the earlier seasons.
Yeah, from seasons 1 to 5.
If you think season 2, those girls were mean.
Yeah. And that was bullying. That was bullying. The Stacey Lane Matthews of them all.
That was bullying.
The Heathers, that was bullying.
That was bullying.
That would have been considered bullying today on that standard.
No, absolutely.
That was bullying. Right? So there's a difference.
No, there is. And I just think people need to calm the fuck down. It's drag.
They really do.
It's drag.
But as far as the episode goes, Queen and Soa, along with Alyssa and Eva as the pairings, I thought they were my favorite pairings.
Yes, they look beautiful. Sorry, I had to think for a moment and just kind of rethink it. Yes, they look beautiful, gorgeous. I loved how they were playing up the kind of the runway walk, the performance.
Yeah.
They did so well.
Yep. Now, I know the fans love Linnea and Pythia, but don't get me wrong, the looks were great, but it was just something about Pythia's face makeup. I couldn't get into it, and it kind of bothered me. So it kind of took me out of the family resemblance.
The base, yes. I don't think Linnea really knew how to paint the base very well.
Yes.
And I've told you this, absolutely loved their eye makeup.
You did. You said that.
Eye makeup, I loved it. Mm-hmm. But the face overall, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Queen was trying to say, but it just came off like everything about this look is shit. It came off a Raven moment.
Your look is shit.
Yes, right. And so Nalinia ends up winning her first challenge of the season. Kudos to her. And then Kitty and Vanity end up in the bottom, and they lip sync to Believe by Cher. I thought the lip sync was messy, but it was meh at best.
It was no ma'am at best.
Kitty took her shoes off. That's a no ma'am. Never do that. But Vanity goes home. Which, yeah. All right. So then episode 10, it's the branding challenge. So at the beginning of the episode, Kitty is humbled, right? She knocked herself off her imaginary high horse because she had to lip sync the previous week. So she's like, okay, I'm back down to size. I'm like a normal person in the competition. This is anyone's game now. Queen Kong gives us the iconic line, I don't need flowers, I like KFC. Amazing.
Yes.
I love KFC too.
Me
Queen,
too,
I'm
bitch.
with you. I love KFC.
No, bitch. And first of all, also, like, when you're on a budget, girl, KFC got some really good deals.
I love me some crunchy chicken from KFC. I wish they just had potato wedges.
KFC. Somebody some twink get this to KFC. Bring back those potato wedges.
Listen, I'm telling you right now.
Those secret recipe fries. Those are disgusting.
Yes, please let us know that you want the potato wedges back.
Getting rid of potato wedges was homophobic.
It really was. It was also racist. It was. So the queens must create a branding challenge, right? That sells their home countries.
Yes.
So to me, I thought Kitty had the best commercial. But I thought Alyssa fully understood the assignment.
I mean,
she branded her city, like her country, but she also branded herself.
I think, like, as soon as they announced the challenge, we knew who was going to win that. Alyssa is the queen of branding herself. Yeah. Like, that challenge was made for her. She delivered. She did great.
I thought the other ones had a hard time fully understanding the assignment. Tessa decided to do Switzerland, and she's from Drag Race Germany.
It made no sense.
She could have just, like Ruru said, she could have just leaned into, I don't know, nothing about Germany.
Yeah, she literally could have. I mean, actually, I'm not going to say what I was thinking. But besides the point, like,
we just started.
Yeah, a cow? Really? Like, why?
Yeah.
And the fact that she had like 10 different accents made no sense. It was just bad.
I thought she should have leaned into the fact that she didn't know shit about Germany. That would have been funny. She probably would have been in the top.
That's true.
Yeah, the others to me, like I said, was meh, but Alyssa wins, and it's the first time she has ever made it to the finale.
It is.
I love that for her.
Yeah, no, good for her. Finally, about damn time.
It really, because the episode before the finale is always the episode where Alyssa Edwards gets eliminated.
Because they know season 5.
Oh, well, yeah.
But she always gets eliminated like right before
the finales. Because they know if they put Alyssa Edwards in the finale, it's competition.
Yeah.
Full competition.
Exactly.
She is going to lip sync down.
I mean, is it too late to say who we think we're going to... I mean, not too late, too early.
Too early? I think so. Okay. I think it's too early. Okay. Queen and Tessa are the bottom two. And they lip sync to Don't Leave Me This Way by Thelma Houston. And Tessa goes home.
I mean, it's about time Tessa went home.
She did really well, though. But yes, Tessa should have gone home.
I know. I think she did really well on the lip sync. I think I would have rather preferred some of the other queens who were eliminated prior to her to stick around longer.
Yeah, fully.
But I loved how messy she was.
Yeah.
Well, be your messy self, girl. I live for it.
So how are you feeling? Are you still underwhelmed? Because the last time you said, meh.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Did nothing change?
No.
Because when I gave it the benefit of the doubt, I said maybe in the later episodes.
Did it change for you?
No.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but they're just... I think it's a multitude of things. I think the runways have been very underwhelming. Performances, I think maybe, like you said, because we're judging it from an American perspective, like it's not giving what we're used to.
Yes.
I don't know. It just feels like the whole season they played favoritism left and right.
I think it feels like favoritism because we are judging this on American standards of drag. And Queen Kong and Kitty and Alyssa were all judged by Ru.
Yeah, and I think that's very unfair. Love the queens. Absolutely not their fault.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it all comes down to production, and I just think they made some choices that were questionable.
They needed to create space for the international queens to thrive in. And I think if they did that,
I think
we would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think if they had some, like, maybe international judges coming to judge, or just, like, behind the scenes, like, giving them, like, direction or some advice of how to handle these queens, I think it would have been better.
Yeah.
If they do I hope they do a season 2.
I think they would.
And I hope they work out the kinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, Ru always loves a do-over. Like,
yeah.
if it's something doesn't go over, she'll...
Yeah, Allstars 1 was a shit show.
Yeah, she needed to
do
over.
And Allstars 2 is the best All-Star season.
Literally, so iconic. But speaking about creating space, right? That's what this episode is all about. But I did want to shout out the Native series. They just had their launch party for their YouTube show yesterday. We couldn't make it, unfortunately, but we did want to shout you out because it is something about creating, like, you're taking your idea from scratch and then putting it to fruition and launching it. So shout out to the Native series. We love y'all. We can't wait to be on the series. So maybe season 2, you can get us, so we probably could, like, maybe do something.
Girl, maybe you.
I would be feeling my, like, Whoopi from The View moment and like have a little interview panel. I would be really good.
Okay.
So natives, call me. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're all for inclusivity and like, again, making spaces for queer people of color. So thank you for paving the way.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah.
They had Jacked on air. It was like, yeah, so we got to watch it.
We got to watch it. And
it just came out yesterday.
We'll go to the next event. I'm sorry, but my back was hurting. I'm old.
We're old, yes. Okay, so like I said right earlier, today's topic is all about creating spaces for queer people of color, right? Mm-hmm. So, obviously when we go out, we typically go out to Hell's Kitchen and we go to Chelsea, but 9 out of 10 times we're surrounded by people who don't necessarily look like us.
At all.
But there's nothing wrong with that because anytime we go out, we always have fun and people, they gravitate towards us.
Yes, there's nothing wrong in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you can continue what you were going to say. I have thoughts.
No, I just think, right, obviously we do have spaces, right? So if you go to, like, if you go to Harlem, if you go to Queens, if you go to Brooklyn, there's spaces for, like, queer people of color. We have some clubs out there. And then obviously Hell's Kitchen and Chelsea, they have, like, certain nights that cater to our community, which I think is great. But I just feel like we should have more.
Absolutely. And I think for me as a queer Latino, like, I feel like I often have to choose, like, which group of people I want to surround myself with. Like, it's either I go and hang out with, like, my Latina friends, or queer friends. And again, it's very difficult for them to for me to feel completely comfortable in either one of them. Because if I go out with my queer friends, again, they don't look like us. At all. Yeah. If I go with my Latina friends, it's very straight, very heteronormative. Yeah. Don't always feel super comfortable. Love all my friends the house down, but, like, it's very hard to find spaces where you feel truly comfortable in your own complete identity.
Yeah. I think that's a really great thing you said, right? Like, finding space for yourself, right? Because you have friends from different walks of life and different spectrums, right? And different gender identity and gender expression, but it's finding space for yourself. And I think it runs a fine line. So for me, I'll tell you a little story. Like, always growing up, like, right now I'm 35, I'm a really confident person. I know who I am, right? It doesn't matter where I go, I'm always going to be Will. But growing up, it was really hard because, one, I didn't think I was Black enough. Right, so I had this whole idea like, oh, you're not Black, you don't play basketball, you don't play sports, you need to do all this, right? And then when I came out, it was like, oh, you're not gay enough because I'm not, like, the quintessential, like, oh, gay that you'll see, right? But that's because we judge ourselves based on societal, like, unrealistic expectations. And it wasn't until, like, growing up and just getting older and then being out there and working, right? And seeing different people that I learned about intersectionality. So, like, that place when you can be multiple things but still be you. And I think that is the important piece, right? So I would love for the bars to fully understand that. Like, I would love for the bars in, like, Brooklyn and Queens and Harlem to do RuPaul Drag Race, like, viewing parties. It doesn't have to be just like a Chelsea or like a Hell's Kitchen kind of thing, right? Like, there's gays who live in the Bronx and who look like me who like RuPaul's Drag Race too.
Absolutely, and we know a lot of them. Yeah. But I also want the bars like in Hell's Kitchen, in Chelsea, in the Village, who do these parties, or to maybe just make us to include us more than just one night out of the week, like Latin night or Latino night or whatever they want to call it. It just feels very kind of exploitative. Like, we just want you for one night, like, bring in the money, get out afterwards.
Right. It does. And I think, again, right, it's all about creating space.
Yeah.
Right. How do we make, and I think it also just includes maybe do more like drag queens of color.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And invite them like to come down to the Chelseas and the Hell's Kitchen of the world.
Yes, absolutely. Like get these Bronx girls in there.
Yes,
get these
and I think
Brooklyn
that
girls
would also, because you can't be what you can't see. So people won't go to these places if they feel like, well, I'm not going to be connected to this drag queen, right? There's certain songs that I would want them to perform, but will they be able to perform them? Like, no, right? And it's kind of hard because, well, we know what songs to pick for a certain performance, and we also know that some of our favorite drag queens, they'll perform whatever song we want. They'll make it do what it do, right? Because they create space for us. And I love that.
Yes.
But not all of the queens do that.
Yeah. I just think these, like, in general, as bars in general, just need to do a better job at including everyone.
Yes. And speaking of, like, just this idea of, like, including or just creating space, there's a quote by Vice President Harris, right? And obviously she's running for president, right? And so
future President Harris?
Yes, right. I can say future president, yes. And she's probably going to be the first one, right, to do a lot of things. And she knows that she's the first one to do a lot of things. And she said, you're going to walk into many rooms in your life and in your career where you may be the only one who looks like you, who has had the experiences you've had. But remember, when you're in those rooms, you're not alone. We're in that room with you, applauding you on. And I think that's something that I've always like took with me, right? Because to me, I think it's really important. And that's why we created No MAAM Podcast. One, it was like, and I hinted upon this, right? There's a lot of podcasters who are reviewing RuPaul's Drag Race. A lot of them. Everybody has a podcast reviewing RuPaul's Drag Race. The gays have opinions. Everyone wants to talk about what they feel, who was robbed, who's not robbed, who should have got the crown, right? But if you look holistically, right, and typically who the podcasters are, they don't look like you and I.
No.
And so I found it really hard to really just get into majority of those podcasts because I'm like, they can't relate to me. They don't understand what's happening. And so this is why I love Sibling Rivalry. To see Monet and Bob talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, be two queens of color who competed on RuPaul's Drag Race and then won RuPaul's Drag Race on top of that, and can sit there and do a podcast and just talk about things that I'm interested in. Like, that's why I wanted to create No MAAM Podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to join you because, again, like, it's basically what you said, like, all these podcasts that are out there, at least like the really big ones, most of them don't look like us. And I want to be able to kind of show maybe younger queer people that do look like us that, hey, you can do it too. You can do whatever you want. You can't let anyone tell you no. And just kind of really like create a safe space for them.
Yep. And like I said, I'm no stranger to creating spaces for myself. I think I do that regardless of, like, if I step in a room. I think that's why it was funny because the first episode, he was like, oh, Will, like, we thought you were a diva. And it's not that. It's because I'm just really confident. I just know who I am. And so sometimes that can be mistaken for, like, oh, Will has an attitude. And it's not that. It's just that I know, like, if I'm in this room, I know what I'm bringing.
I think it took me a long time, and I don't even think I've fully gotten there yet. But, like, growing up, like, I was ashamed of my Mexican identity. Like, I denied it. I was like, no, this is not me. And obviously ashamed of, like, being an immigrant. As I got older, that's when I started to appreciate that more and really started to connect with my culture more and kind of trying to get to know more about, like, Mexican history and Mexican culture and really embrace it, while at the same time embracing my queer identity. Yeah. I don't think I've reached a point where, like, I'm 100% completely confident, but I know I'm definitely a lot more confident than I was, like, even 5 years ago.
Yeah, but I also think society kind of teaches, right, that being Mexican is a bad thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Girl,
we're like, oh, why? Why he's Mexican. Oh, my gosh.
So I was bullied relentlessly in middle school. A big part of it was for being Mexican. And I remember I actually brought it up to one of my coworkers the other day as a joke. But do you remember when swine flu was a thing?
Yes.
One of the things that kids used to do was go around me or, like, my sister or, like, any Mexican and just be like, and saying, blame it on the Mexicans, to the tune of blame it on the alcohol. Yeah. And teachers did nothing. They would just watch and did nothing. Yeah. So again, it definitely affected how I viewed myself. And as I got older, that's when I was like, "There's nothing wrong with being Mexican, like
No,
at all.
not at
Like,
all.
own it." And one thing actually, if I was not living in New York, I think now I can confidently say I'd be living in like Mexico City or Monterrey, just
Yeah.
because they do have a very big queer scene, and I think that's something I would probably feel more comfortable in. Especially like, again, Drag Race has really helped create
Yes.
more queer safe spaces.
Just about to say that because we have Drag Race Mexico, which I think is an amazing franchise.
Yes, absolutely.
And it showcased, right, Mexican drag on a high level on the international stage.
And it's something I had been telling you for years prior to Drag Race Mexico starting. I was like, these girls are on another level.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they finally have a worldwide stage to like really show who they are and really show the world what Mexican drag is.
Yes. But what I love is that they didn't water down the drag queens that were a part of Drag Race Mexico.
No. Well, no. No. They got to live their full identity. And I see. This is why I kind of want Gala to stick around more, so she could show more of what of what she had. I mean, some of the outfits she wore were beautiful and were very. You could see the Mexican inspiration behind them, like the butterfly look she had, the pesos look she had, obviously. I think people need to go watch these international seasons more and really get a perspective of queer culture outside of the U.S.
Yeah. And I think for me, right, obviously being African American, also being a part Panamanian, right? So I have two cultures who are heavily driven by masculinity.
Oh, girl, that's a whole nother... Yeah.
Right? And so you have this, stereotypical black man, you can't cry, you have to do that. And then growing up, and I'm like, no, that's not really who I am, right? I'm an emotional person. Like, that's not what I want to do, right? That's not who I am. And I think it is important to realize that that's okay, right? And then also knowing that there may not be space for you, and know that that's also all right, too. And a lot of times growing up, like in school, I'm different. I spoke different. They was like, oh, but you talk like a white person. And I'm like, well, what does that even mean?
Girl, I still get that to this day.
But I'm like, what does that even mean, right? Like, I speak English. I learned how to speak English. This is how I speak, right? I text the way I talk. So you get full sentences from me. It's really rare for you to get like you. And that's like if I'm being lazy and I'm really tired, then you'll get that. Then you're like, girl, you okay? But I think, right, and then, so obviously my best friend D'Angelo, right? And so when we kind of had similar stories, right? Because he's half black, half Puerto Rican, right? So growing up in cultures in which you have to be the man, right? And if you have a little bit of femme in you, then it's like, oh no, right? Then they call you the F word. I refuse to say that because I'm not giving it power.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I say it because I'm taking it back.
I don't like to say the word. I think it's nasty. Just like I don't say the N word, I hate saying that word.
Okay.
And I feel like it's the same thing to me. So I don't like to say it. But no, I understand that. But there are some people who say it because they want to take it back, and that's how you get your power. Totally get that. I'm just not one of those people. I don't like it. I just think it's derogatory, and I'm just like, no. And I hate when other people say it. It's kind of like bitch a little bit too. But I know how some females be like, oh, like they say bitch because it's empowerment. But sometimes I'm like, it depends on the context.
Okay.
But I don't knock people who be like, no, I'm going to say the F word because I'm taking it back. It's just me. But I can say it. You can't say it, right? Then you have that.
Oh, that's fully me. Like, I can say it. You say it, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like, girl, we're going to fight.
But I also think we need to create space for them and let them know that we need to teach them. We need to teach them when to say it and when not to say it. Because I think some people, they get too over the way. You give them a little bit and they take a lot.
Yeah.
But again, right, I think it's easy for us to forget that we judge ourselves on unrealistic societal expectations. In the fact that, right, I love that I'm seeing series like the Native series, right, creating spaces for web series that look like us.
Yeah, and also once you said that, I want to shout out Horchata. Because they're this collective in New York that are actually building these parties for queer people of color. And if you look at their Instagram, anytime they host a party, one of the things they very clearly specify is, hey, if you are not a queer or trans person of color, maybe rethink whether or not you should come because there's limited tickets available. Like, do you really want to be taking up the space for who this party was truly meant for? I'm yet to go to a party because they always schedule it on a day that I unfortunately cannot attend. But soon, girl. I appreciate that there's somebody out there or a group of people out there who really are trying to create these spaces.
Yeah, and I just think about like, I just want to say this to the viewers, right? The people who are watching us on YouTube. Understand that No Ma'am, right, will be that room for you, right? We will create space for you to let us know exactly who you are, what you want us to talk about. We'll be that room. Jhoany and I have a ton of opinions.
Yeah.
We do. Sometimes we agree. Sometimes no, ma'am. But I think that's the beauty in our friendship, right? Is that we literally create space for each other.
Yeah. And I think we've also, I mean, we're kind of old. So we've been through enough to, I feel like, at least for like younger viewers, to kind of help them and guide them a little bit in any questions that they have.
Yeah. But, you know, and again, before we wrap up, I did want to bring it back to the election because I think this is a really important topic to talk about in terms of creating space. Being African-American, we're a big tent. There's space for everyone. I think people just have an idea that all Black people are the same, and they're not, right? In our community, we have this term, all kinfolk, all skin folk and kinfolk, and it means not all Black people are going to be on your side and we're going to agree with you. But recently, I saw an article about how Black men are upset with the Democratic Party. So just to give you some context, African Americans tend to lean more Democratic than Republican. It's just historical fact. And so here they said that Black men are just upset with the Democratic Party and they're moving towards Donald Trump in large numbers. And also they're mad at they feel like they were being lectured by former President Barack Obama for saying that, you know, they were like, he was kind of judging them on who they should vote for. So I have some, I think in the term of, or just like the realm of creating spaces, again, we're a big tent. Being Black, you can do whatever you want. And I think that's the beauty in our community, right? We have so many different lanes and avenues that you can do. But I have some thoughts. For starters, I don't think that former President Barack Obama said anything bad. I think he was just like, listen, if you want to vote for Donald Trump, okay, go ahead, right? But don't not vote for Kamala Harris because she is a Black female and you are scared of that and you don't want to put her in power because of that. And then don't vote for the other guy thinking that he's going to do something and invest in your community because this man has never done anything for the Black community. Donald Trump has never done anything for the Black people. I don't understand where that narrative has come from. He's never done anything.
Or Latinos.
Or anyone who's not a cisgendered white man.
Exactly.
And so I think for me, right, as a Black man, I think our community has a lot of growing to do. And I say that is because if we think Donald Trump is going to invest in us, we need to look in the mirror and we need to slap ourselves, right? Because then we also need to look at the caliber of people who are supporting him. Right, there is a reason why certain groups of folks or certain kinds of Black people and certain kinds of like Latin people, right, they follow and they endorse Donald Trump. It's just a different type of person. And we need to be mindful of the misinformation and the disinformation that's coming into our communities because we are currently the communities that they feel, let's just throw some lies and see who's going to spread them. It's a game of telephone. Let's throw the lies out there and say, oh, you know what? He didn't throw toilet paper at the Puerto Ricans for Hurricane Maria. He didn't do that.
No, he very clearly
He really did. He threw toilet paper at them and they needed hurricane relief, right? Yeah. He does everything for Black folks when he literally called for the execution of the exonerated like Central Park Five, right? He didn't want to sell or rent apartments to African Americans. He didn't want to be a Black landlord. So we just need to think about why we're the communities in which the information and disinformation is always in. And then think of the celebrities who are endorsing him. 50 Cent. Come on now. Listen.
Wait, 50 Cent endorsed him?
Yeah, that man just cares about taxes. He just don't want to pay no taxes. He's really cheap. Then you had Amber Rose. Right. And then you had Candace Owens. Now, listen.
That's not even
Candace Owens didn't know all the time came after God is good. If you are real, like in the community, in the Black church, we say that all the time. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Verbatim, we know that. She didn't know that. So that should tell you right there. She not invested in this community. She don't care about y'all, right? But these are the people who we're like, yeah, you know, they say something and we sop it up like a biscuit. No, in the words of Monet Exchange, soak it up, and that's what we're doing. We literally are soaping up all of this information that doesn't make any sense to us. But again, Vote for who you want to vote for, right? Whether that be Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, or Jill Stein, again, who only comes out every 4 years to run for president because she gets funding and all she wants to do is steal votes. So she has no talking points. She
I
really
literally don't know anything about her.
Listen,
or
you
her
never
policies.
gonna know Jill Stein. Jill Stein thrives on dog whistle politics, grievance politics, right? And so she loves to exploit grievances. So right now, right, a lot of young voters, a lot of Gen Z voters are all about the hardship that's happening in the war in Gaza. So Jill Stein is going to milk that for everything that it's worth.
Girl, just ignore Jill Stein.
But it's hard for them to do so because all she does, that's the platform. She has no other platform to run on, is the fact of, all these grievances. And all she's doing is just taking votes away from the Democratic Party. Like, that's it. Because we have, again, remember when we talked about the Chaperone episode, right? They're going to lean towards this third party option. And they're going to think, Jill Stein is a savior. And she does not do that. She does not care. All she cares about is funding for the next 4 years so she can run for president again. Because that's all she does. She's the pimple that doesn't go away, that really just mess up your confidence. But I digress. That's me. I just have to throw some shade at the end because I get really passionate about this election because I think there's a lot at stake.
It really is.
And I want us to really fully realize that if we talk about creating spaces now, we would not be able to create spaces if we allow that man to be president for the next 4 years.
I mean, that man, like you said, has absolutely no respect for anyone that is not a white cisgendered man.
No, not at all.
And I think fooling yourself into the idea that he is going to create policies for people that look like us is, girl, get it together. He's not going to do that.
We have to get out there. We have to vote, right? But not just vote just for the top of the ticket. We got to vote down ballot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think sometimes we need to go back to civics class. A lot of people think that the vice president has more power than the president. And no, the president got the power. Like, the president is the one that signs the bills. The vice president is there. You want to do, the vice president, like, you go over there and do that. He just delegates, right? The president literally just delegates to the vice president, and the vice president goes, okay, right? Like, that's what they do. And I think people need to understand civics. But we need to vote down ballot because in order for Kamala Harris to be able to implement any changes, she need people who are not going to obstruct her.
Yeah. And I think for people who can vote, who cannot vote, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Yep. Like, inform them about the policies and about who's running for office, and really use your voice to inform people about the choices out there. Yeah,
and listen to the good podcasters. Listen to the ones who are giving you like some knowledge and throwing some sense at you. Listen to us, right? We know we are there. We're in the trenches. We see it. We are there for y'all. We may say no, ma'am, but this is a yes, ma'am. Get out there and vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Vote, ma'am. Get out there and vote, ma'am.
What's the website again?
Get out there and vote, ma'am.
No, is it?
What?
No, the actual government website to register to vote.
Vote.gov.
Okay, there we go.
I was like, what? That was a little slogan. It's like, vote ma'am, not no ma'am. It's vote ma'am.
No, girl, I was talking about the website.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there you have it. That was another episode of No Ma'am.
Yes.
We did it. Right? So, but we want to hear from you. What makes you say no, ma'am? We have a questionnaire on our Linktree website that we want you to fill out. Fill it out and let us know what some of those deal breakers for you. So you may actually be a topic of our next episode. Who knows? But as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single episode of No Ma'am. And if you're listening to us on any of those podcasting platforms, please rate us 5 stars. Trust me, it means so much to us. And as always, we'll have you saying no ma'am in no time. And that's it. Bye.